Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths Designer, and we are in this episode continuing on with our how-to on various aspects of building within From the Depths Designer. We are currently in the From the Depths Designer vanilla designer, the basic designer for the game, and if you've been going through some various tutorials and following the in-game videos, you'll now have a basic ship, hopefully some sort of hull that at least floats, and a basic engine. Now, last time we looked at the simple weapons that were available for your ship and what could be done to shoot simple weapons at your enemy, and we started to look at some of the more advanced weaponry available to us, because there were certain disadvantages of the simple. Apart from, as much as anything else, they don't do a lot of damage. So what we're going to look at in this episode is the custom cannons, and also how to get your targeting to cover a wider range. Now, we have a fairly small boat here, so we won't be going any massive cannons with this particular build. For the moment though, I'm going to go into the build mode, and by pressing the caps lock key we can bring it out of the water and raise it up, just so that it'll be a little easier for us to do some building and see what works without it rocking around. So now we're up in a nice stable environment. We'll first of all look at custom cannons. So if we go into the build menu, down on the left hand side, if you are on day one at the top on this option, you'll only get a few options available to you as to what you can do with your cannon. So we'll go through those items first. Now, when building a cannon, we've got a couple of ways we can build it, but we're just going to go with a basic cannon firing forwards, and just to do plenty of damage. Now, the core part of any cannon is basically the chassis that holds all of the gun components, and that is made up by the 6-way connector. On the 6-way connector, all other components will fit. So you need to ensure that you start with the 6 ways. And with this, we plan out a basic layout of the gun that we want to build. The shape of the gun can follow any design you wish that follows the basic core concept of this 6-way connector. Once you have what you think is a layout for the gun that you would like to use, the next thing you want to connect will be the firing piece. The firing piece is effectively like the breech of the gun. Now, you'll notice with the green and blue options on the block, it must be connected to from underneath. So if we click on here, we can place it. If we try to go to the side, we cannot place. So we're just going to do a single cannon here. So we put it on the top, and that gives us our basic breech block where the ammo will get processed. And as we can see, we've got quite a few options on the top here, some various statistics. The ID, that is useful if you have multiple cannons to know which of these blocks is connected to which cannon. Very important in more advanced stages. The reload time is how often the gun will fire in seconds. So how many seconds between each shot. So at the moment it will fire once every 4 seconds. Kinetic damage is a relatively obvious damage figure. It is based upon the damage that is caused when something hits. Explosive damage will be relevant if the ammo is classed as explosive, and we'll go through how that works in a short while. Also, armour piercing. The armour piercing value is what chance it has of piercing a particular block's armour piercing armour value and therefore able to cause its damage. Ammo, relatively simple, is the amount of ammo which is currently stored in the cannon system. That's not the ammo which is stored on the ship. It is the ammo stored in the cannon. The cannon then has to transfer, when it starts running low on ammo, or uses ammo, the ammo is transferred from the ship to the cannon. So from ammo barrels into the cannon system. Azimuth and elevation. Azimuth is the left and right angle that this cannon can fire. So currently this would fire 45 degrees to the left and right from the direction it is facing. And elevation is the up and down from where it is facing. Recoil, as the name suggests, is each time it shoots how much force is applied to the ship in the direction of the cannon shell. So when it fires forward, it is going to apply 1000 recoil to the ship. We'll go through that. Ammo use. Obviously we have no ammo in the gun at this moment, but the ammo use is how much ammo is used per shot. So that will be relative to the ammo which is stored in your boxes. If you have a high ammo use and low ammo storage, then obviously your gun will not fire for very long before it starts needing to draw ammo from the ship. Inaccuracy is the amount of variance that the shell will have when fired around the target it is aiming for. The more inaccurate, the more chance of it being left, right, up, down, etc. Rather than hitting the exact block you were shooting at. Okay, so there are the basic statistics. How can we make these statistics better? Well, we do that by adding more blocks. Now we're going to start with the gun breech and the barrel. Now we've got two types of barrel initially that you need to put onto the gun at this level. The motor driven and the barrel. Now if you look on the right hand side, you will see the modifiers that this places on the gun. So as an example, the inaccuracy modifier. So the motor driven barrel, if we put that on, has an inaccuracy modifier of 0.9. The amount of damage change, so putting this on there will actually improve damage. And the recoil modifier. This gun will make this recoil more. So if we put this on the gun and now look at the stats, you'll notice the kinetic damage has gone up and the inaccuracy has actually gone down. So that's gone down a little. It's made it less inaccurate, obviously increasing the barrel length, and obviously it made the kinetic damage go up. If we put a couple more, we'll just put 4 on there for the moment, you'll notice our kinetic damage has gone up and our ammo use and our inaccuracy is coming down. So we could theoretically just keep putting these on. But on here our recoil is not going down. Our recoil is staying constant. Our inaccuracy is going down 4.78. But I'm just going to take this back down to a 4-barrel gun. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I add 4 more on, you'll notice the inaccuracy is 4.3. 190 and 4.3. What about the other barrel? Now this barrel at the top is a normal barrel. Now you'll notice the inaccuracy modifier is 0.8. So that means it is going to give a much better inaccuracy modifier. But it's got a little note at the bottom, reduces firing angle. So if we put 4 of these on, so that's 4 motor driven and 4 normal barrels, you'll notice the kinetic damage is the same, but the inaccuracy modifier is much better at 2.69. Now the azimuth and elevation have not changed very much. If I now put another barrel on, and let's put another one on there as well, so that's 2 more, you'll notice that the azimuth and elevation has now moved to 22 degrees elevation and azimuth. So going to more barrels has reduced the left, right, up, down availability of this particular barrel to reduce its range of operation. But its inaccuracy is a lot better. We are a lot more accurate with this gun. We could do the same if we just used the motor driven barrels. So it's the same length, just with motor driven. You'll notice that the azimuth and elevation have not changed, but the inaccuracy is nowhere near as good. 3.49, that's half the accuracy. So you can tell you need to mix your barrels. You could say, okay, well, what if I just use the normal barrel? Fine. That is possible. If we just used the normal barrel, so the same amount, just using the standard barrel, you can see the azimuth and elevation is 5 degrees. This would have to be so pointing at the target. Its inaccuracy is 1.07, which is very good. But its elevation in this static environment means the ship would have to be exactly pointing at the target for it to actually hit, which is not good. So you need to mix your barrels to get a good mixture. Whoops, took the rock too much off there. Let's put that one back. A good mixture of the various barrels. Now if we go to more and move a few more barrels available, you'll notice there is some extra barrels available. And we'll quickly go through those as a slightly more advanced barrel. Now the elevation barrel, starting on that, because this will be the most common barrel you'll use in the very first place. The elevation barrel has a specific purpose to increase the elevation at the sake of left and right. So you'll notice now our elevation is 80, so that's up and down is 80, but azimuth is only 22. Now this will be very useful if you were trying to shoot at airplanes which are very high, because you'd want to keep that 80 degrees elevation to be able to shoot things in the sky. So very good for AA guns, as an example. Other barrels here are recoil suppression barrels. Now if we add that one in, you'll notice our recoil immediately has gone down. Now again, this would be very useful for guns which a big gun in a small ship, where you don't want it slowing yourself down, or you're finding the gun is causing your ship to twist or turn or in some way move around. You would want to add some recoil barrels to your gun. What else have we got here? Flash suppression barrel. We'll just go and check on those figures again. You'll notice that the inaccuracy modifier, it makes it a little less accurate and removes damage. It does reduce recoil, but it cancels a muzzle flash and sound. Now at this time it looks interesting, but it has no, at this moment, general effect in the game that I am aware of to either make you less shootable or less seeable by the enemy, because there is no stealth facility within the game at this time. So it's possibly you wouldn't need the the flash suppressor barrel. The gauge increase down here is not actually a barrel, and we'll talk about that in a little while. So here we're going to go for a basic gun. We're going to add 4 motor driven barrels, and we're going to put 4 normal barrels. So that's given us an accuracy 2.69 and a recoil. Well, we're going to reduce that recoil just a little bit. What we'll do, let's say that was a little too much. If we add a recoil barrel, We're still at 45, and that's reduced our recoil to 700. If we add one more, you can see our azimuth and elevation have reduced. I want to keep this at 45 degrees. So if you are doing a static gun like this situation is, you do not want to reduce your azimuth if at all possible, because that will define how the left and right firing of your gun. Okay, next stage then. We now at the moment this will not fire because we have no ammo in this gun. Even if I go to all and whoops, where are we, you can see the gun is moving around with my cursor, but as I fire it says no internal ammo supplies, so we have to supply it some ammo. So we'll go back into our build mode. So when we're in the menu, we have ammo boxes, which are the most simplest form, obviously, of ammo box. They basically just increase the ammo available in the gun. Now here is one problem at the moment though with our current design. We've placed this firing piece straight on the 6-way block, but if you hover over this 6-way connector, it says not connected to firing piece. And why is that? Well, basically your firing piece, although it connects on the bottom, it does not connect to firing pieces. Sorry, the 6-way connectors on the bottom. It must be connected to them either on the top or the sides. So there is two designs I tend to use when connecting my guns up to the 6-way connectors. Either a sideways connector, which is the most common one I use, like that. So you just put a couple either side. The reason I double it up is for mirroring, to ensure that there is balance and we don't get a weight imbalance in the ship. So that keeps it nice and accurate. Now if you look at them, all of these items, if I go and get the ammo block, you'll notice it says Q to bring up menu. So we connect again back to the gun. It doesn't show not connected. If I just take that out, previously it showed not connected, which is not going to do. Yeah, we go not connected to firing piece. Took a little while for it just to update. So where to go there. Now the other design I do tend to use as well is called is like an up and over. Uses a few, not too many more blocks, but you can go around the back and over the top there. This is handy for designs that maybe you don't want them too wide for some reason, so you want it going over the top and round the back to save a bit of space potentially. So that is another way that you can connect your firing pieces up to the gun. In this case I think we'll go for the usual side on method. Okay, now let's go back to our ammo boxes. If we now quite simply add a ammo box to our 6-way connectors, in our firing piece we now show ammo at 400. So that means there is 400 ammo in this gun now. All other factors are the same, but if we just go back to our gun, if we now fire, it is firing, but now we have to wait 4 seconds for every shot. But it's not firing amazingly fast, but it's not using the ammo very fast as well. So that's a trade-off between speed of fire and the ammo usage. So okay, well that's alright, but we've got two choices now. We can either make this a bigger gun, so when it hits something it does more boom, or we can make it a more rapid firing gun. To make change the rate of fire, we have to mix the ammo boxes with an autoloader. So when we go to an autoloader, if we orientate it correctly and we put it on again, the 6-way connectors, I'll put 4 of these down. You'll notice on the right hand side it has in its information reload time reduced by 0.75 for each connected ammo box. So quite simply we add an ammo box in, and now our reload time is 0.3. We add a second one in to 0.25. It is slightly reducing each time you add an ammo box in, so a reducing return, but we're now down to 0.95 ammo time. So now when we take this, we have a much more usable firing time. So how far can we go with that? Well, there is effectively a limit to the firing rate of a gun. At the smallest size, actually if I take a few of these off, there we go, 0.1. We are at 0.1. We've got 2 slots available. If I add any more, it stays at 0.1. So for this particular gun size, 0.1 is the smallest the gun will go to. Or sorry, not the smallest, the fastest firing the gun will go to. So that's a 0.1 firing time. So if we again go out of here, that's fairly much a machine gun. Which is nice to have. So that's a very small, I wouldn't say small, but it's a small gun. This is a very basic gun. Now, what about the other factors that were in here? Now, we can see the ammo is loading up. We've noticed as we put these ammo boxes on, even though they're on reloaders, they were increasing our overall ammo supply. So it's always worth putting your ammo boxes on these loaders to ensure you get a better ammo supply. Now, at the moment, our gun is only doing kinetic damage, and with an armor piercing value of 3, it's not going to do too much to your average metal ship, but would be okay against wooden ships. So I'll just put a target up there quickly, just out there, just to show what that would be like. So we have a basic little target out there with some wooden blocks on it. So if we start firing at that target, you'll notice we're doing some damage, but generally it's you'll notice also how the recoil is turning our ship around. And we've got to the limit of our ship's, our gun's traverse, so we can no longer aim at that target, which is a little annoying. So we would then have to move our ship again to the right position. So I will just get us back aiming at the right target. Now that we're facing back at our target, you'll notice that although we were knocking off the wooden gradually, the wooden blocks on it, we did not get anywhere near the metal underneath. So there's a couple of things we would like to do here. One is increase the explosive damage and also the armor piercing. That comes in with a couple of other blocks which are available on the gun. And I'm just going to increase the amount of blocks we can add to the gun, just to easier to show you. So first of all, the other additional ideas are explosive warheads. Now if we add an explosive warhead, now I've added it on to an autoloader, but I do not need to. So first of all, if I add it, I'll add it onto the autoloader anyway. Now you'll notice that our explosive damage is now 10, but it hasn't increased our reload time. If I add a couple more to the autoloader, you'll notice it has not increased the reload time, but our explosive damage is at 27. If I do the same 3 blocks down here, you'll see it's exactly the same. There is no difference between using an autoloader or not to mount the explosive ammo boxes. So why am I using them? Actually, it is a resource element that they are more effective and cheaper to build than lots of 6-ways. You can put 3 around these. You can also still put a few down on the bottom here as well. So I tend to find it is more resource efficient to use the autoloaders than to use just 6-way connectors. What I mean by that, 6-way connector down on the bottom right hand side you'll see is 60 metal and 60 scrap. A autoloader is only 30 metal and 10 scrap. So it is significantly cheaper to use multiple autoloaders than it is more 6-way connectors. So that's just a good habit when you're trying to be resource efficient. Now, the way that explosive works here, although the explosive damage is 47, which is a true factor, not every single shot that comes out of the barrel will be explosive. If I go and start shooting, you may notice the trails on some of the shots are white and some are red. The red ones are the explosive, and when they hit you'll see a little explosion. Our ship has once again turned around. The white ones are the standard kinetic. So the amount of explosive damage isn't on every single shot. It is still a factor of being on each of the shots, increasing the chance that a shot will have explosive damage, but is not guaranteed to be explosive. So you need quite a few explosive ammo barrels to guarantee, and even then there's no absolute 100 guarantee, to ensure you get a majority of your shots are explosive. So if we put them on there and then we now go round, so our figure is now 79, and that is with 15 barrels. So if we start now firing, I'll try and show that a little bit better. You'll see actually most of our shots there, about 50% of our shots are now explosive, and you can see it's doing a much more damage to our target. But the metal is still not being pierced. So next we need to look at armor piercing. So let me just get our ship one more time pointing roughly in the correct direction. Propulsion for our ship will be in a separate how-to. Right, so next the next obvious one is we've got some explosive, we need to increase the armor piercing. This is where you can see the gun's getting quite large now, so we might have to balance how much we put on here. Now I'm going to use some of these 6-ways here just to put some of these autoloaders on so that I can put some armor piercing shells in here. Yeah, we'll put some on the top as well just to use up the space. Okay, so if we now go to armor piercing, if I add a block in, you'll notice our armor piercing is now up to 4. 4.9, 6.4. Now metal is 10. It has an armor value of 10. So to guarantee, or I say have a good chance at piercing metal, we need a value of around 10. So we will put this on. That's quite a few blocks, and you can see we're up to 10.7. The return is now starting to diminish, and you will find that even with many barrels of armor piercing, you won't get much above 12.8 as a maximum armor piercing value for your gun. It's possible, but you know, you need a lot of barrels. You can see the amount of barrels we have put on here. We are now up to 12.5, but it's quite a big gun. So let's just give that a go now. Whoops. It helps if I make sure I am on the right item here. Bear with me. Now you'll notice now how some of the shots are blue and or purple and white. So we've now got actually 4 possible colours of shell can come out of this cannon. Now at this point, the white is the kinetic only shell, and only really only does kinetic damage to the target. The red shell is the is the high explosive only shell that comes out of the gun. And finally you have a purple shell, which is a combination of it's basically a high explosive armor piercing, and that is where it's going to do both. It's going to do armor piercing value of 10 and the full explosive value. Again, the more barrels you put on your gun, the more chance there is of doing that type of damage. Okay, so what are we left with? There's 2 items which are handy on here. We're going to look at now at the predictor, because that's going to be handy for this next stage. If I add the predictor in, this is a very simple one. Ideal if you like doing first person shooting, in that now with that predictor you'll notice there's a nice white line which makes it a lot easier to get that first shot in. He says, as I hit with a majority of them. So the predictor basically tries to predict where your shot will go, and makes it a lot easier, ideally, in the ideal world, to aim your gun, assuming everything is 100% on target. So this is like a sighting mechanism for your gun. So that's definitely a handy thing if you're trying to shoot people, especially at longer ranges where it does have to arc in. Okay, what else can we do for our gun here? There is one other block left, which was the gauge increase, which we said we'd look at. Now the gauge is the size of the barrel. So if I now increase the gauge by just the gauge increases just fit straight onto the 6-way connectors. So if I put the 2 gauges in, you'll see physically that barrel has increased in size. Also, all of the damage values have increased. The kinetic damage and the explosive damage have increased. The reload time has gone down. Obviously it's a bigger shell and it needs more time to reload. The other factor is recoil has increased significantly. It's also firing a bigger shell, so the recoil will increase. And finally, the ammo use has also increased to 19, and the inaccuracy. So we're now balancing off. If I take them off again, just to compare, actually the accuracy has decreased. Sorry, my fault on there. The bigger shell flies faster and basically means it will be more accurate. Don't know if I agree with that 100%, but that is the way the game works. But the reload time and recoil has increased significantly. If we add a few more, obviously there is a matter of adding too many of these in is not going to have a great effect. But if we just put in a few more, just to get there in, so we've got 6 in there now. Notice physically much bigger gun. Our reload time is 0.4, but our damage is significantly increased. But let's fire this gun, see what it goes like for this big cannon. So if we put it there, you'll notice it moves around a lot slower with the big gun. The bigger the cannon, the slower it moves around. Moved our ship very quickly, but we did a lot more damage straight away to this, including taking out metal blocks. So you can tell, increasing that gauge, although you had all of the recoil effects, etc., it did significant amounts of damage to your gun. Did significantly more damage. Now this is something that you can play with. Basically experiment with what you feel is a good ratio of barrels depending on what you want to achieve. I tend to personally, my own tip is to stay around 50-50. So 50% motor driven barrels to 50% other types of barrels gives you a good wide azimuth without reducing and elevation. If you change, you can put more motor driven barrels than the normal barrels, but the benefit isn't there. There's no great benefit. The benefit is in having more of the more accurate type of barrels. So around a 50-50 type of split. With the ammo barrels and HE and AP, effectively it does come down to how many can you fit, but also depends on your target. If you find your target is at start very wooden, then you could reduce the armor piercing in favour of HE and gauge increase, because they will have more effect against wood. If you are going against metal targets, then you will find having more armor piercing will be of more value than purely gauge and than HE. Gauge will always be a great benefit, but it has big factors such as the recoil and it introduces. But the good factors about it is it does increase accuracy. It also increases range, which I didn't really show on this one here. But if I go back to here, oops, there we go. You'll notice the gauge before it actually hits down. We're going a lot further now with our shots compared to the first gun. And the shots are just generally quicker. So the higher the gauge, the longer the range of the gun. It's got more explosive force, I suppose you could put it down to. Obviously, a small ship like this has all now become almost totally cannon, and would have problems manoeuvring very quickly. The other problem with this gun, which we'll look into on the next episode, is that it can only fire forwards. Now that our target is over to the side, we can no longer shoot at our target. As you can see, it's stuck on that 45 degrees. So we'd either have to build a gun that fires to the side, or in the next episode we'll be looking at turrets and how we can mount our custom cannons on a turreted system to allow it to point in any direction. but that'll be on our next episode. Okay, hopefully that has been useful on how to build up your custom cannons to do the damage that you require, either HE or armor piercing, or just basic kinetic damage by increasing the gauges, and how to increase its rate of fire using the reloading blocks. Hopefully that's been informational. Please leave any comments below. Please let me know if I got anything wrong, and if what is the next parts you would like to see. Next is turrets, and how to mount a turret on a ship to make your cannon fire in 360 degrees, and how to place them correctly. So keep playing the game, keep fighting, and above all, have fun.